Okay, so the last talk was, or the discussion was about, FTC3 does a lot of things in terms of enabling our UIs and applications to talk to each other. But to get to that ideal user experience, there's a lot of other things that need to be done. So this talk, I'm gonna go through our journey in terms of unifying the user experience, talk about why do we even need to do this? What's the trends in the industry that are driving this? And we're gonna go through some of the key strategies that we've learned, distilled essentially, that enable that unification. A little bit about myself. I'm Ajay Mehta. I head something we have in JPMorgan called the Connect platform. I've been there for 17 years. I have experience across private banking and wealth management. And for the past 8 years, I've been focused on building the Connect platform. So here's a diagram that shows our journey. We started in 2016. Initially, we were building a value-add apps that really were essentially killer apps for our users. But as that started to become successful, we started to basically move everything that our users were using in terms of internal software into this environment. And we went through a journey over these past years. And what I'm going to go through is a distilled understanding of the things that we learned. So it's been 8 years. We've done this across 4 lines of businesses, 100 user roles, which is 30,000 users. And our 2,000 application developers have built about 500 apps, essentially. So during this period was a great period of growth within the private bank. Just a few statistics that I pulled out. We had a 50% increase in advisor revenue productivity. So that's like the amount of revenue per advisor. We had almost an 80% increase in assets under supervision. And we also growed new businesses. So there's something now called JPMorgan Wealth Management. It's the advisors that are in the Chase branches, as well as other advisor services that are available. So what is driving this and why are we doing this? Silicon Valley says that software is eating the world. In enterprise, we call that digital transformation. What that means is that we want to deliver digital solutions faster. Traditional firms are needing to create value through software. We want to deliver solutions rapidly, frequently, and reliably to the users. And that enables our business to be nimble and to continually innovate. We're also entering an era where there's no more legacy software. If you were really digitally transformed, when you build some software, you're continually upgrading it. I think many of the sessions today were around open source and cybersecurity. And since we know about vulnerabilities in the software that we're using, we need to continually upgrade them. You can't just build something and just let it sit around for a while. You're going to have vulnerabilities that are known and exploitable, so you have to continually upgrade that. And we want to evolve our platforms, and we want to have the ability to do that incrementally. So that's the big change. This delivers solutions faster, something that really hits home. Over the past few days, we actually within JPMorgan, we just did an innovation week, which is like a hackathon where, an hour ago we presented 9 different ideas. Some of them were actually built within 2 days. So it's just amazing how fast we can build software these days. I have a picture here of Pac-Man eating the world. This year it was generated using DALL-E 3. I think I did something last year similarly, but it was DALL-E 2. Some of these will be Midjourney and other things that just can generate information. Okay. So how do we transform? We decompose monolithic software. So we put things into the cloud. We have microservices, micro front ends. We enable that through cloud technologies. And business-aligned groups can deliver solutions really fast. So you can have agile teams across your organization delivering solutions rapidly. We also want to leverage all the innovation that's happening outside of the enterprise. We want to leverage best-in-breed capabilities in different domains. So if there are certain tools that provide us certain capabilities, we want to be able to grab them and plug them into our environment. So breaking down, like, how does this look? So, we used to go where we had a user hitting a single monolithic environment, and then we broke that down into pieces. Now we have a user, and there's many applications that they're using, and we all kind of probably feel this right now. If you open up your computer, you have lots of Chrome tabs, and you're kind of moving between your Chrome tabs, and then you need like things in your browser to help you do that. Or if you're on your phone, you're like switching between different apps. And that's something that may be okay for us in terms of consumer applications, but our end users are doing time-sensitive work. They can't be switching between things. That context switching is a problem. So this digital transformation created some new user experience challenges. And now we've essentially created a fragmented user experience. You may have users managing the workflow. They're moving between different apps. That can slow them down. That can lead to errors. When you go through each of these apps, you may have duplicate capabilities. You may be searching for the same type of information multiple times. You may be setting certain contexts multiple times. So all of this is not fun if you're like on the phone with a client and you need to get them information really fast. So that, in essence, also negatively impacts the employee happiness of our advisors who are using our platform. So we want to solve that challenge, as well as there's another challenge, which is the operators of a platform are also users. So thinking about them and thinking about how we can solve operational challenges in terms of monitoring consistently across all these variable applications. If a user has a problem, they don't necessarily know where they were in the workflow. They just had a problem somewhere. You have to be able to see all those things that are happening. Apps could be changing in uncoordinated ways, and it's very hard to train across user journeys that have different parts in it. So that is, this is an analogy that I use to kind of think about like what's happening. So we used to go into like Best Buy, grab a CD, and then pop it in, really simple. Then music was digitalized. So we used to download music. You can download anything you want. The best thing, the best song, or a list of all the best songs. You could create them into a playlist, and then you had to load them onto an MP3 player. But that created some user experience challenges. You had to maintain different playlists. You had to manage limited space on a device. You had to plug it in, re-swap your playlists, so on and so forth. So that was the initial digitalization, which caused an amazing end result, but created some other challenges. And now that digital experience of music is you can open up your app of choice, Pandora, Spotify, Apple Music, ask it to play music. It's going to know what you want to listen to based on your historical preferences, based on songs you've liked, based on what's in your library. It'll generate playlists for you automatically. And that's the rebundling, and that is what FTC3 is starting to do in terms of rebundling things like context, but we want to get to the whole end result and things that we need to do for our users to make sure that they feel like they're not using a collection of apps across their workflow. It feels more like they're using one platform that has different UIs as they move through it. So this is where I'm going to go through all of these strategies in terms of unifying the user experience. The first one is interoperability in FTC3. That's something that has been discussed last year, this year, something that's emerging. It's really kind of coming together. In terms of our ability to contextually bind the decoupled application UIs, and what you also need on top of that is you need to visually bind them too. So like if two applications are linked together, two UIs are linked together, like it should be obvious to the user that they are. And those are things that you can leverage different platforms that are available to enable that. The power of this is multifold. It allows you in an organization or enterprise where you have software, some of it's old, some of it's new. Even once you build everything in the newest, latest thing, there's another newer thing. So then you're back to that cycle where you have different kind of types of technology as it's constantly evolving. So you can use that to move to the direction that you want to go. Additionally, you want to bring in best-in-class solutions into your environment. and integrate that seamlessly into your user's workflow. So another strategy is ensuring that you're leveraging core capabilities. If you see many apps doing the same thing over and over again, then you have to kind of bring them into a common capability. So things like common notifications, search, a common navigation, things that may be very specific to your domain. Like in our domain, we have a very common navigational pattern between clients and accounts. And we don't want every app to have to rebuild that, so we can pull that into a common capability. Reminders, so on and so forth. There's many, many things that we are thinking about and pulling that into a common capability. And you all probably have experienced this with operating systems, desktop or mobile, where there's common things that come out of the box. UI design system toolkit is something that is important. That is something that enables your developers to rapidly build UIs consistently, and it also creates a consistency for the user. So they can build transferable muscle memory as they use your applications. If they learn how to fill out a form, then that form is the same everywhere. If they learn how to use a grid in a certain way, it'll be the same. So that's something that accelerates their usage and decreases frustration as they're moving across different applications in the ecosystem. So it's something that we started with initially, thinking about styles, components, composed components, templates. Now you basically have 80% of our apps, 90% of our apps fall into certain templates, and those are 7 templates. So now if you're a developer, you can kickstart off of one of those 7 templates. And then you can go to the next level where actually a lot of our UIs are fairly simple and are very suitable for low code. So things that are on our mobile platform, they can be built using low code very rapidly. Cards throughout the platform, forms. So if you have a design system and standards, you can kind of take that next step where you don't necessarily have to go and generate the JavaScript project and then deploy it and run it. You can use a low code capability, and we've kind of built this within our own platform, but it outputs a model, and then that model is what generates the UI, and you can optimize that generation. So if you need to generate that to web or target that to mobile or target it to different form factors, you can do that. Navigation and search is very important. You want to have a very consistent and personalized information hierarchy. So if a user logs in, we know who they are. We know their role. We know their persona. We know where they're located. We want to default the things that they use 80% of the time. They should be already open. They should be arranged in a logical way. If you need something else, there should be a quick way to find it. And once you're a super user, maybe you're not going to navigate through hierarchies of tabs, etc. You're just going to quickly search for the things you need. You're going to bookmark them. So thinking about that and making sure that is pulled out and really available, so that as you're moving through your workflow, it's not like windows popping up everywhere, you having to use Alt-Tab or use window management tools on your desktop to arrange them, or just give your users 4 monitors, which is not practical in many situations. Our users they honestly want to have 1 monitor, or they want to run the whole business off their iPad, right? So we have to keep things kind of consistent in terms of that navigation and moving between different areas. This is something that I've probably been spending the most amount of time on for the past few months. AI copilot personalization. Since we have a platform, we can implement a common copilot throughout the platform. So if you have a question, you can ask that question in the search. You can get an answer. If you're moving through your workflow, we know what your context is. We know what you're doing. We can generate insights that are relevant. They're for the client that you're on, or they're for the instrument that you're looking at. We can help you suggest what you should do next, not only in terms of what you should do next with your client, but also what's the next best place to navigate to based on where you currently are. So making it faster for our users just to move through the environment and increase their productivity overall, moving away from grids of data. And this is related in terms of now we've been thinking about a lot is unifying insight streams. So in the past, it was really like, as I said earlier in the presentation, it's easier than ever to build an application because of all these technologies. You can really spin something up that feels like an application very rapidly. But now it's becoming really easy to build things that were really hard in the past. Insights that are really relevant for specific domains, conversational agents that can answer certain questions. And we don't want a fragmented experience where people are navigating through different screens and getting different insights. Some of them could be conflicting. They don't want to go through each application and see a different chatbot come up with each with its own interesting name, just pop up and start asking to chat with. That's not going to be great either. So we need to be able to think about unifying those insight streams, and that's something that we're focused on in the next kind of unification of that user experience. The interesting thing is that a lot of these insight streams in terms of UX are fairly straightforward compared to the types of things that we were building in the past. So we've been focused on cards and using things like adoptive cards to enable swift development. So a developer can onboard, they can get their capabilities coming out on different levels. So whether it's through a Q&A, whether it's on a book level dashboard, whether it's in context of a client, on mobile, and even outside of the platform if they're in a chat tool, and they can still get they can still get the cards or insights as they're moving through that. So one thing that really kind of put everything together was governance and fitness. This is something that we started right from the beginning. We had no evidence that it was something that we needed, but we got some good advice that something that would be really important. So initially, governance was something that was done manually, probably for the majority of the period. A few years ago, we built a platform around it, which basically tests all the questions that we used to ask. And there's multiple reasons for that. One is somebody can say that they've done certain things. It's hard to validate whether they've actually done it. They may have thought they did it, but they didn't do it 100%. Additionally, people will deploy something and they'll incrementally change it. They won't make any major change that will breach the level that requires them to come back to governance, but they'll make changes in an incremental way, and a few years later, there'll be a completely different way of doing things. So we want to continually be able to test this every day across different dimensions. All right, so with that, if we have, one more thing. This is a thing that is kind of a point that I raised earlier, is your operators who are supporting the platform are users as well. So when you decentralize and decouple your platform, it becomes very hard and challenging to do support across multiple different places. Who should they reach out to if the user's having a problem? Who owns every part? It's very important to have consistent monitoring and unified monitoring across your platform. And we also run synthetic users that are mimicking human users throughout the platform, just to continually understand if all those workflows are intact, and if there's any problem, we can know about it right away. All right, so now it's time for questions. Sure.
So your team is creating this Connect platform, and you mentioned there the SREs that support people. Are they involved in any of the design decisions for bringing it?
Yeah, initially we didn't even have a separation between the teams. So the SREs would be members of the overall team. As we're maturing in that process, SREs are, having their own job role, and we're creating their own organization. But we basically, whenever you're thinking about a business aligned or product aligned team, they have members of multiple disciplines assigned to them. So you would have engineers, designers, product people, SREs, and agility experts. Those are
Is there like a community of practice or
oh yeah, it's a very big focus is reliability, and in terms of user experience, it's like the top thing, speed and availability.
You alluded to your mobile strategy, and I imagine it's big demand in the mobile management space to especially get these types of insights on an iPad. Are you seeing your teams asking for true iOS screen-read apps, or are you just wanting this to be the browser and have them access that on an iPad?
What they want is something that's fast and reliable. So I guess since we're deploying to internal users, we're kind of lucky that our user base has pretty good phones. So we are not seeing like the types of performance problems that others see when you have a user base who maybe has like low-powered Android phones or other types of variations. Like I think some very high percentage of our user bases, even globally, have iPhones. Most of them have a pretty updated version. If they have Androids, they have pretty updated versions. So we have a strategy where we can switch certain parts of our UI to be native. So certain parts of our mobile app are native, but we also want to prioritize the federated development across the different product line teams. So by keeping a lot of the capabilities web-based and rendering in a hybrid method, it allows us to democratize mobile development more and have more people involved in building features for our users. Other questions? Let's see. We have 3 more minutes. So,
Use quantitative metrics, user metrics, to do some of your user experience.
yeah, so since we have this platform, we have a container, we can generically capture what the users are doing on multiple levels, what they're focused on, like the focus event. We're also now come up with a method to capture all their actions, whether those actions result in a server request or not. We generically capture like pretty much everything they're doing. So we have, for the majority of this 8 years, we've used that data to make product decisions and design decisions. We are now starting on multiple fronts to use that data to improve personalization, to generate insights. For example, if everybody on your team is using a portfolio insight tool and you're not, like maybe there's something that you're missing, it's also something that's going to be really important for us to accelerate training. So we can kind of advertise things for the users to try, to check out. And we don't want to send those advertisements to people who are already using those tools. So if we find that somebody is not using something that we think they should be, like a best practice, then we can send them an advertisement and drive them towards that. We also found it's really effective to drive users to certain capabilities within the platform, like sending out emails or blast messages don't really work. So sending out the thing within the platform, the advertisement, and having them click on it, that deep links right into the feature, and then they can go from there.
Have you been able to drill into top performers to help understand what makes them top performers and then use those barriers to automate the rest of your workforce?
Yeah, we can see like certain users that are top users, what are they doing? And we're trying to see whether there's like is there really a correlation between like usage of the system and whether, performance in terms of revenue. Our user base is pretty variable. So you have users who have different types of clients. Each group specializes in a certain area. So I think that's still an open question of whether or not, especially for advisors, which is like a really free-form job, whether or not like using the CRM is like something that will directly correlate to revenue, or whether there's other factors to it. But what we're doing is we're basically creating cohorts. So like if you're in the ultra high net worth group in New York, how is your usage relative to the other members of your team? I mean, there's definitely there's definitely a seniority type of behavior that we're seeing. So like more junior members of the team are using the tools more. They're also the people that we're focusing on in terms of feedback. Senior member of the team use the tool, but they use different parts of it. They use book level views. They view things in a different way. So it's pretty interesting to see, how there's so many different factors, and it can't just be like generalized so simply. Yeah. All right. Okay.
Was that your playlist on the iPhone?
My playlist, yeah, it's a little old, but yeah.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was decent.
All right, cool. Thank you.